What does it take to change the world? It takes a long chain of resilient men and women, endowed with various skill sets and divergent mindsets, holistically working together to achieve a common goal. It is a synergetic effect of different art forms combining into one to think, design, and create mind-blowing stories. A systematic workflow and processes from department to another. A set of professional tools and elements designed to create and fine-tune. It takes persistence, consistency, and collaboration to tell compelling stories, to evoke emotions, and to change the world. We have designed a one-stopover center online with all the seasoned creatives from all the realms of the film industry. Together, we can. We are the Film Hackers.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and we are live right now, and of course you know what we're going to be talking about, but before we get into what we're going to be talking about, my name is Cleopatra Koheirwe, so I'll be starting from my extreme left, introducing Shafic Sserwadda. He is the founder of Filmhackers, and he is also a CEO of Incredible Media, which works with TVCs, filmmaking as well. That's well, besides TVCs, there is also TV series and movies. Yeah, and then next to him is Phillip Luswata. This man I have admired for a long time, looked up to him. He was the one who appeared in Igoli, a South African series. Back then, we're all like this on the screens. So welcome, Phillip Luswata. He's an actor and writer. Next to him is the amazing and gorgeous and fierce Nana Kagga. You know?
I would cheer myself up.
You know, Ululu. Nana Kagga is a producer, a director, and an actress. And Savannah Moon, she's a founder as well of Savannah Moon. And next to her is Danze Edwin. I like his name, Danze. And he is a producer as well as it was producer and digital marketer. I didn't want to get it wrong. And I'm a writer, so I write a lot. Pardon, you'll be seeing me scribble. I'm not, the lawyer next to me might say, what is she writing about? And this here next to me is the lovely lwanga. He is an entertainment lawyer. And I must say, I'm glad we have him. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And right now, like I said, we're going to be discussing, you know, the regulations. Me, I had no words. Like, I was so mad. You know, when I've just, Nana knows, I had just like told my corporate job, thank you so much, I really need to go and focus on, you know, the filmmaking, and there's a project and blah, 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 and they understood. Then you leave, and the next thing they're saying, that regulations are coming and people are going to be having to pay. So let me just look at some of the regulations here to give you viewers a brief on what's actually happening in case you haven't heard about it. Now, the stage play and public entertainment rules, I'm going to make it brief. These rules affect musicians, actors, comedians, authors, promoters, venue owners, including hotels, parks, bars, gardens, beaches, DJs and VJs, record labels, broadcasters, and so on. In other words, if you're someone who is creative, I think even those who can sew mats, under these rules, one must have a permit to stage a play, a concert, or any form of public entertainment. Failure to have a permit is punishable by a fine or imprisonment for 6 months or both. Now, we could go on and on, but you're going to get to know what all the regulations are all about, and when we get to Louis, he'll also explain and elaborate. The thing is, though, some of you might be saying, but we've heard that these regulations have been killed, stopped, frozen. It's a bit unclear, you know, what's happening, but guys, I just want you to indulge with me. I'll start with Phillip Luswata. What's your say?
Well, I think we need to be very clear that as performers, we are very much for regulation. We are very much for regulation. And I think we can't operate in an industry and an atmosphere that doesn't have rules. But what we are saying is that who is this who's coming out to create these rules? Because it's like saying that the industry has been operating in a vacuum. UCC very proudly keeps saying that, oh, we came to save the industry from the 1949 rules, colonial rules. And then they also say that much of what we are following now is still colonial, is from those 1950s, our constitution. But when you look at the idea behind creating these rules, then it becomes very suspect. Why would I go into Shafiq's house to create rules for him? You see, if rules are going to be created and to be followed, then they must be created by the people who are concerned. We have had these rules. What was wrong with them? Nobody knows. Nobody has been explained to that this was wrong. And I remember some 4 or 5 years ago, the Uganda National Cultural Center called us to discuss the UNCC Act. And at that time, if I remember clearly, these same kind of rules came up. And we told them, okay, it's fine, you've come up with these things, but what's wrong with the old regulations? You have never implemented them. They have never been put to practice. So we've not weighed them to say that they can work or they can't work. So what needs to happen is, okay, it's good, we need to regulate, but let's first revisit the old. Otherwise, you're not going to write rules in your house, then come and tell me, you man, you need also to revise your own rules in your house, so you start with my rules. No, let's start before you. From where you began, let me also begin there, and then also I put myself into some kind of position that works for me. So we're not against, we do support, but we are saying it's the wrong person who is bringing these rules. It's not for the UNCC, for UCC to bring these rules. It's for culture, the guys who are concerned with culture. And maybe that's when Parliament needs to go and sit down and start discussing mandate. Who is doing what? If you remember, the president the other day also came clear and said he made a big mistake by creating all these anti-corruption bodies. It's the same thing that is happening even now, where you have the Media Council, you have UCC, you have the Minister of Gender, you have the Minister of Tourism, you have the Minister of Industry, you have the ICT Ministry, all showing that we might have an interest in this kind of business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nana Kagga, what do you think these regulations causes? Like, what do you think the effect is on the creative arts?
First of all, I just want to say something. The creative arts are the key to dreaming. They're the key to opening imaginations. They're the key to people voicing their frustrations, their joys, their happiness, the way people express themselves. They define generations, they define eras, they define the times. Because I'll tell you this, very few of us go through life without attaching music to a particular era in your life, without attaching poems, plays. So when you put forth regulations like this, you're saying that you can dream, okay? But you can't execute that dream without my permission. And I don't literally know you. I don't know what drives you. I don't know why you are who you are. And a lot of times we don't understand the arts choose us. We don't choose the arts. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, if I could walk away from being an artist, I'd do it. Because that would make society happy, because the arts are considered to be an erratic field. People don't comprehend it. But when you go and muzzle the arts, when you stifle the arts, you stifle a generation, you kill off the voices of the youth and the voiceless. So these regulations where you impose monetary fines and jail time are not meant to uplift the industry. They're meant to crush it. And let's face it, it is very sad that UCC has come out to put these regulations forth to an industry that they have never really bothered to structure, support, fund, or even put forth an environment where we can have investors come in for us to grow. So we've struggled, we've put this industry together, we are at a stage where we can realize something out of it, and then the very body that's supposed to protect us is coming forth to just destroy the entire structure. And like Phillip said, we need regulations to protect both sides. There's actors, crew people, everybody that's involved requires regulations to know boundaries. Like anything in the society of life, You have to have boundaries, and there must be consequences if those boundaries are not executed. But they must be for the good of every single person involved in the process. So when you come forth and tell people that they cannot speak, that they will be punished if they don't follow the rules as you have put them forth. And let's face it, these regulations were done by technocrats and policymakers, not by us who are living this life, who say, you know what, this rule must be put forth for this person because I've lived it. I would love for someone else to not experience what I've experienced. But what has come is the same thing that happens a lot in life, is people don't bother to understand what they don't know. They think they know, so they go forth and they put what you call a blanket solution on something they don't understand. And a lot of it is for taxes and monetary recovery.
Nice. Nicely put. Personally, when you talk about taxes, I feel like we have way too many taxes. You guys, I can't keep up anymore. I'm just like, wait, I'm doing social media tax, I'm doing what tax, then I'm being taxed again on my salary for what? And then it's just too much. And I think you have a point there, but what would you say, Louis?
Well, the legal perspective here is not as important as what the creative perspective is. Before we talk about what the law is, what these rules are, why now? Why the Stage Plays and Public Entertainment Act of 1999 didn't have rules until now, because these are rules, they're not the act itself. Why UCC is coming out now with regulations on content, regulations on photography and the like. We have to discuss not so much the rules, because the rules are outrageous.
Yeah.
We know that for a fact. But the state of the industry and the environment of the industry that made it possible for UCC to even have the audacity to create these regulations. If we miss that, then we are going to lose the whole conversation. Like Phillip said, the wrong person is making the regulations. I wanted to ask him who is the right person to make the regulations. Luckily, he said the regulations should be made by us, the creatives. So the question is, what has stopped the creatives from making these regulations? Because anywhere you go in the world, let's look at the developed markets, all right? Nana here has been to Hollywood. She has starred in a Hollywood movie. She can tell you that to star in a Hollywood movie, you're part of a Screen Actors Guild, all right? Phillip has been on various international projects. The way the industry out there approaches themselves is self-regulation. So when Phillip said that the creatives ought to make the regulations themselves, I think the creatives have failed themselves for years to a point where someone else who has their own agenda has come in and said, okay, seeing as you guys are disorganized, I'm going to create this and that and that and that for you. Now, think about it this way. The government hasn't supported the creative arts. I can't even say not really at all. They haven't supported the creative arts to the point that the standards that are in the creative arts industry have been put there by the creatives themselves. How stuff operates, how movies are made, because there was no one to guide them. There's no national policy on how movies are going to be made, how content is going to be put out there. I wake up, I look for money, I don't even know the right cameras to use. That's what our industry is. I'm a musician. Most of the songs, I'm sorry to say, that we listen of our music are demos out there, you know? And it's not a fault of the artists. It's the government hasn't sensitized the artists enough to know that we have to be structured this way, okay? To sort of be able to boost the creative arts industry and make it beneficial to both the state and the creatives. Now, the solution to all this, before I even get into what the nitty-gritties of the law, we need self-regulation by the artists themselves. The artists need, okay, not just the artists, the photographers, the digital marketers, because UCC is coming for you, Danze, you know that already. If UCC had a way of regulating YouTube, and they would, and seeing these regulations, I'm sure they have thought about it. But the legal intricacies of that, with the end user licenses, those guys it's very technical. However, if the artists got together, because the biggest issue we've had that has been the block against self-regulation is the individualism in the arts industry. Most of these bodies that you have representing the artists or the photographers or the producers or the promoters are factions. They're not statutory bodies. You understand? So if someone is going to come to a table, okay, to discuss regulations for the industry, who are they going to talk to? They're going to find disorganized factions with their own interests, with the pretext thinking that once it benefits them, it's not going to affect the entire industry. If you look at the background, and people don't want to talk about this, people were consulted. Actually, people in the industry were consulted about these regulations. You understand?
I can see the surprise on each one of us. I'm sure I was like,
So actually people were consulted, all right? But those people were individuals who had their own interests. In an environment that would have self-regulation, where actors create a statutory body, it has to be a statutory body, not a faction of actors of Uganda Association, just camaraderie. No. It has to be a statutory body. Let's call it the Screen Actors Guild of Uganda. The producers have a statutory body. Or anything to that effect. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Or a body that involves all creatives. So much so that, first of all, the mandate of that body is to create sort of standard procedures of operation in the industry for yourselves, so that you cannot go below this standard. If you're going to be a part of this body, this is what we expect of you. The same way the doctors have it, the same way as lawyers have it. You know, you have to subscribe to the Uganda Law Society and you have to be governed by the Law Council, because you cannot afford a one Danze to come and also say he's a lawyer without operating within what we look at what the standard should be. All right? That is a discussion that creatives have to have within themselves, helped by legal experts like us to tell them that, listen, this is how we make it a statutory body. Once you create that self-regulation within the industry, all right, then the government or the regulator, there is no chance they're going to be able to pass a law that is going to affect you without consulting you. One, because you already have ways you operate. So you know best what they ought to do, what they need to tweak to support you, all right? So if they're going to make a law, they would have the right people at the table representing the interests of the creatives, knowing exactly how it works with numbers and membership and all that data backing it up. If that doesn't happen, we're going to have this conversation next year. We're going to have this conversation the year after. We're going to have this conversation forever. Because they say they suspended the regulations. Well,
please tell us, is this suspension? What is?
So let me tell you, legally, that doesn't mean anything. All right? As long as someone has the powers, they do have the power. The law is the law until it's repealed. So that law still exists. So don't sit back and be like, okay, they suspended them. What happens if the minister wakes up and says, okay, these laws are back? They don't have to notify you. All right? So don't sit back. I personally have been trying to sensitize the artists about this. These laws are outrageous, but I was extremely happy when they passed these laws, because they are forcing conversations like this to be had. And it's the right time for creatives to sit back and say, okay, the government has showed us their hand. If we don't get our act together, okay, create this so that by the time, okay, let me give you an example. They have been suspended. If the government called the creatives right now to have a discussion, how best can we tweak this? Who are they going to call? If they call Nana, people are going to say, Nana. I mean, they're creatives. Yeah. If they call you Phillip, people are going to be like, Phillip is not going to read. So organize yourselves enough for this conversation to be had at that top level. If you do not do that, we are wasting time.
So, Shafic, let me ask you this. Considering what he's just pointed out, how best do you think creatives can actually, be one or have a body? There was a time where I was at a function. Those of you may not know, I'm also an actress and I'm a media personality, worked in TV, radio, and been in the industry for like more than 15 years. So this hits home. Me, I can't even cry. Like, I don't want people messing with my creative art. So I would like you to tell us, how best do you think we can actually join as one and say, like the example he gave, SAG. Not that SAG can actually be here. There was a time we were at UCC and they were trying to tell us to sign up for a SAG something. But I know, or Nana, you can clarify, that SAG Hollywood actually has to be the one to initiate a SAG Uganda. You cannot just make a Screen Actors Guild without their consent.
And that model that they create in Uganda should then be tailored to the standards in Uganda, but ultimately be governed by the Screen Actors Guild of Hollywood. So when we had that, I heard about that, and I thought that was, as usual, very ad hoc way, sort of regulate the ignorant, those that have no idea about it. So it's, again, educate ourselves and organize ourselves, right?
Actually, the main reason as to why I started Filmhackers is basically I wanted to contribute on the industry that I want to see, a better industry. And this is why we've been able to have these conversations. What we first did is we profiled over 100 top-notch professionals that in the industry that are doing it differently, that have done it for years and have been successful in their craft. So what does that give you? It gives you an online platform where you can go and check all the professionals in the industry that are doing it in the country. Whether you're outside Uganda or inside Uganda, you will know this guy can help me do ABCD. So we have created an online community of content creators, and we keep looking out there for more people to come on board, so that we can know, yes, when I need legal advice, I'll go to him. When I need social media, I'll go to him. When I need to do casting, I'll come and pick
It's like our Uganda Wikipedia.
Yes, it's like a Uganda
And it's
Wikipedia.
actually helping because we get to know more about each other, we get to know who's doing what. Sometimes people write others off as just an actor or just, with that just, and yet there's a lot more to the individual.
So we have a website which is Filmhackers, filmhackers.org. It's a pretty robust website with all these top-notch guys. And we have brought conversations closer to people. We have social media pages. We have also a WhatsApp group where we have all the top-notch guys that this project is coming in, so and so is leading in, so that we can keep ourselves in check. And that put aside, for me, for the past 12 years that I've been in this industry, I see things differently. I'm a cinematographer. I will shoot down and shoot, I will edit and do all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, I see things differently. Why? I see this as a business because I realize that you can be passionate about your craft, but you're going to reach at a certain level where what brought you here, where you are, will not take you there, that you need a certain set of skills. 90% of the creatives that we have in the industry, they're concentrating on their craft. Oh, look how good my film is. Look how my song sounds really dope. My pictures really sounds great. I want my movie to be shot on this. I want my movie to be shot on red. That technical stuff. That's where we all lose all this kind of stuff. And the people that have done it differently, like we have people like Swang's Avenue, we have people like Admire, we have people like Media 256, we have people like Oman Ali. Like, they have the business mind in their brains that, yes, I'm doing this, yes, but if I don't take it as a business, at a certain point I'm going to shut down. So that passion needs to be fueled. Yeah. So when you start thinking of this industry as a business like any other business, and you need capital, you need proper systems put in place, just like the way you open up a business in Uganda, you have to go to the registration bureau, you register the business and make it properly lined. Getting into in our industry, there is no barrier. It's an open space, like you just enter, you just go in like this, and there is no exit door. So you've seen that there's a lot of people gambling, and you can't know where someone is making money. then when you add on the filters on social media, people think like, oh, these things is pretty cool. But 90% of these people are not making money. And some are going to age.
It's the publicity, but not
publicity,
monetary
but
value.
making the money. So when I link that to the laws, it's the same thing that the government is using against us. That they're not seeing this as a business. Why? Because the people that are in the industry are seen as gamblers. For example, let's talk about the bigger picture of how many young people that the film industry can employ. I'm just going to give you an example. If we brought a professional set from here, let's say like the Disney Queen of Country, you're gonna have like 300 people on the ground. We have cinematographers, we have actors, we have actresses, we have gaffers, we have sound recordists, we have people who are designing stages, we have people in logistics, we have people giving food. Like it's a pretty robust thing when you put
I understand what you're saying.
When you properly align it. And most of the most successful movies, like let's say Titanic or Black Panther or this trending series called Money Heist, there is a big team that you don't get to see behind. That's the reason why you hear that Money Heist, they spent over $20 million, and you're like, we spent $10,000 producing our content. Why is it that? So when I put it in proper context, the government needs to know that this is a big source of employment. And right now, they're putting these laws, and they're not thinking of what is coming. It's too bad that today, when you think in a proper way, we're going to have the artificial intelligence. You get, when you go to Acacia Mall, back in the days at the Makerere University, you had people standing at the gate to give you money. Today, you're placing a card and you go inside without any other person. Your biggest revenue comes from farming. Today, if you invest heavily in farming and people have machinery that is going to doing the work, the machinery that is going to be doing the work, you're going to see that a farm that has 1,000 people will remain with 20 people because there is this artificial intelligence applied. So where we're going, a lot of things are going to be rendered useless. And where is the future of the creative? This is like the new gold. Look at the people making money out of YouTube. I used to tell my mom that my brothers are in 2 different professionals. I'm the only person doing this kind of work. And I used to be seen as a gambler until of late that I managed to prove myself.
A hustler.
That I've put together a company that employs people that, it's generating money. So right now it's hard for people to believe that you can make money out of this creative industry. Previously, we've been seen as gamblers. So when I bring it back to the laws, this is what is going to happen. When you stress the creative industry, a lot of people will move out. Now, when you add on the artificial intelligence that is coming, where most of the jobs that are going to be rendered useless in the next 5 to 10 years, what are you going to have? You're going to have very many people that are unemployed, and that will lead to the fall of the industry. Excuse me. When you go, I've got a chance to move to different countries, and I specifically did it to understand how the industry works. I'll not go very far. Let's go to Kenya here. They have a film commission that has over 600 people properly aligned with the vision of the country. That we have a group of people that are really special, they are creative people, and this is how we're going to regulate them. There are permits that you need to go through, there are procedures that you need to go through. So before you even go to implement these laws, why don't you first work on the copyright? Why don't you understand the model of how these people are doing their things? I think that way we'll be able to make the industry better when we see it as a business, that these people have to pay for taxes. Whoever opens up a production house has to be this license, and they have to pay this much. This is how much the actors are supposed to be paid. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing. We're not in this because we chose. It chose us, like you said. So we're just looking at having a harmonized industry that can generate a lot of revenue for the people in it, as well as the government. When you look at how this industry is doing in Nigeria, it's competing with oil. So I was giving the example, and I'm going to say it again. Last year, in 2019, Avengers made 2.7 billion. Now, that is equivalent to 12 trillion Ugandan shillings. So your whole budget in a year is 42 trillions, which means if the government supported only 4 projects and promoted them heavily, imagine if a Ugandan today, we are 40 million people. Imagine if every Ugandan is buying a DVD at 10,000, how much money would that be? So you'll end up collecting money that is going to facilitate or fuel your entire budget as a government, like the whole year. So if we start seeing it in that kind of perspective, I think these laws will not be there. Yes.
All right. Well said. I must say I'm enjoying this talk, because when you look at how everybody panicked, especially in the creative industry, when these regulations are put out, and it's like when you said, Louis, that it's woken us up, you were happy that it happened because it's bringing us together. I could see, there was the team that is working with the legal people. There was the team that was now going through, who do we know in government who can give us a venue and we speak. There was everybody trying to do everything. There are those that created the petition for signing, and were sharing it everywhere. So thank you so much, viewers who are with us right here. We are actually live on YouTube at Net Studios, and we're also live on Facebook on Filmhackers page, so you can continue telling other people to join in and be a part of this discussion. It's very good for you to also know what's happening in the creative industry, because you never know, your child or somebody that you care about may want to join this industry. And like you said, Shafic, we are in the industry where it's not stable salary. It's not, salary based that, at the end of the month, I'm going to make this much money. So most times it's like you said, it's a gamble. And when you tell somebody that I am a digital, let's say digital marketer, or
like, what is this?
like Danze, like digital marketer like Danze. Let me finish what I'm saying. You don't even know what I'm going to say. When someone says I'm a digital marketer like Danze is, somebody will say like, wow, and they may not really understand it. But then you say I'm an actor. Okay, but what do you really do? It used to be like that for years. And I'm telling you, we have changed that. There is that respect right now for musicians, for actors, for writers. Some people are trying to be more creative. And when we have done that shift, and this comes in, it's heartbreaking.
In Hollywood, Peter was paid $3 million to feature in Black Panther. So when you put that in Ugandan money, that's money that can, boost the industry, and think of the revenue or the taxes that the government got from it.
But you've gone too far. Genevieve Naji was paid $3 million for her movie with Netflix. And that is on the African continent, and knowing full well that we are the masters of budget filmmaking. When you think of the profit she made of that, it's absolutely ridiculous. Exactly. But when you think about it, we're not incapable of doing that. However, the Nigerians have structured themselves to the point that when they bring out a film, they've already sorted out distribution and marketing on the other end. They know what will sell. Unfortunately, for some of us, the same thing that Louis said, we don't share knowledge. We are not one unit. We cannot advise each other. We cannot come together as one people to fight. This is the first time I have seen creatives under one umbrella fighting one cause.
Yeah. Yes, and it's like our corona.
Yes, but this is what's so funny. You say they consulted people, and I've been dying to say, yes, but were they relevant? Were they actually working individuals? Because if you're working individual right now in this environment, it would be very hard to sell your people into these regulations. Yeah. The people they consulted might have been in the industry, but they're currently not relevant. And this is where we go wrong in the film industry. I myself might not be considered relevant if you're going in the terms of millennials and this digital marketer. Yeah. See, why are you doing that? You should say you're relevant.
When you're done, I'm going to tell you something.
I'm done. You
okay,
Danze.
so
talk to Danze.
Guys, first of all, it's a pleasure being among you guys.
There's something I want, sorry to cut you off. I'm not cutting you off because you're a digital marketer. There's something Shafic mentioned that I really need your perspective on. Because he said these laws are, because AI is coming, they are sort of going to stifle creativity in a way. Yes. And I know, at least personally for a fact, that now the way content is being consumed, that Danze is going to tell us, the Netflixes and who's are moving into to get our content, and people are creating content differently. Danze's perspective, I would really want to know your perspective on how that is going to affect the alternative way we are sharing content now in a digital space.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of things that you guys have said, and just to be, there's something I think we are breezing over. UCC knows just how important film as an industry is. That is why they are focusing on it. They understood how much social media was powerful, so they taxed it. Beyond just making a buck off social media, they understand that if you regulate it, you have some possibility of maybe controlling a power shift or dictating what the conversation is. So it's beyond just the money that they're going to make out of this. Yes, I would totally agree with you guys that the people that are making the laws may not be it, but they've put up their hands and they've done it. Like Louis just said, I have never heard of any single body out there that would stop me from being a producer. I didn't study this in school. I took time to do a master class on YouTube and on Facebook. I saw it being advertised. I took interest. I did it. I work with Gaetano and Marcus. I produced their show. So I have been learning on that job. But because they're professionals, I haven't gone out there and put something on TV that is going to make me get arrested or that's going to cause some instability and things like that. It's because I've fed myself with that knowledge and I'm surrounded by people that are actually knowledgeable about these things that prevents me from being a total disaster to the nation, you get it? So I understand where UCC is coming from. I understand where also the actors are coming from and the producers and the content creators. Now, you talked about AI. I'm going to use a word called automation. You talked about handing cash to someone at a toll booth. Right now, we're just sliding in cards. That is the future. That is where we are going. There was no profession called digital marketer or social media person. It was never taught on campus. But because I had the interest and the time to actually understand that these are the trends now, I used to work with Sylvia Warrior at some time. We used to sell clothes. People used to walk into the store and get clothes. Then we hit a snag at some point. We're like, why aren't people coming here anymore? It's because we were not on Facebook, we were not on Twitter. We were not doing cataloging our products. The models were coming for a photo shoot and it was going into a magazine. But the time of the magazine was
digital was already coming.
So we had to go online. We had to start selling our things with Mayasho online. People from Nigeria wanted to buy Ugandan products. We were limiting ourselves. Same thing I'm going to tell you. The reason as to why I'm always on the internet almost all the time, it's my job. The fact that I've learned about this studio today is in itself
scary. I learned about it last week.
Exactly.
No, was it last week?
The fact that I've learned about the Filmhackers today is a thing as well that also puts us in a different light. Now, we've talked about carrying each other's weight. The moment you understand that this is the investment you have, first things first, you need to protect it. That is why UCC is entering your turf. You feel that someone is encroaching in my space. What does that tell you? People need to know about this. It's very important that I, who's marketing content online, I'm comfortable enough to say, by the time this thing goes on YouTube, I'm going to put $1 to promote it because I know at the end of the day, they're going to give me the best form of content out there. I saw the acclaimed 27 Guns, you get it? It is a nice movie, but it was never going to work out very well for our market because of the political issues that it had, you get it? When you say that they consulted people earlier on, it's because if they told me who in film is the one person that I would go to, I'm going to talk about the people that are top of mind. If I have to mention African actors, I'll go and say Lupita Nyong'o by default. You get it? Genevieve, I'm going to say this guy's names by default. But unfortunately, I've seen some amazing, you've seen Akalawanda Ate My Homework, done by Raymond. It's my very close friend. My worry is, hadn't I known him, would I have ever known about Creatures animations? You get it?
It's very funny. I used to lecture with him at an institution, and I didn't know that
So now Raymond I was with him today at Motif right now. He's told me, I've asked him, why did you shift from Design Hub? He told me, growth. So I'm like, this content creator, this filmmaker, this sound guy has decided that it's in his best interest that he actually puts in some effort and does these things. UCC or any other regulator out there, like you're saying, they're coming to the online people next. Because one tweet, if you have 1,000 followers, means those are 10,000 impressions. Because at least everyone has 2,000 followers or 500 followers. And that in itself means I can decide to say, this is a fake place to be, this is a rubbish show to be on, and that is my opinion, and those people don't know about this place, they are going to take that as gospel truth. That is why they're regulating. Get it? I don't want to say it's a smoke screen, but beyond just stopping you, the filmmaker, it means you're not going to do that. What was that thing that caused problems, the comedians who are doing? Yes, that is film. They did it, they got in trouble, they tried to curtail them. Linda Dane, one of the biggest TikTok people right now in Uganda, she does short videos of 30 seconds. They get over 50,000 views. You get it? This is all film. It's being shot by the mobile phone. You have the high-tech equipment and etc. But that's a weapon that you're using. That is why the regulator in the country is deciding, you know what? We can actually make the rules. They may, like you said, they've suspended them. I was coming to set yesterday for another round, and they said, we have to change the topic. They've suspended the law. But then Marcus told us, like you've just said, they've just mentioned it. There's no big press conference on TV, so let's just go ahead. So back to the automation, the AI. DW has a show whereby there's no human being in studio. It's augmented reality. The Chinese couldn't fly someone to do that show with them. So they got a robot that fed with FAQs, constant responses and everything. When you watch that show, you're going to be absolutely sure this lady is actually reading the news. It's been automated.
Have you watched Westworld?
Westworld. It's been scripted from beginning to end. It does a weekly show every single day ever since 2018. Now, that is where things are going. You get it? I'm on YouTube. I surround myself with so many content creators and actors and people on TV. And when COVID-19 hit in December, I told them, you're at risk of not being seen anymore. Remember what I told you earlier on, why you don't need to be terrestrial? It's because at the end of the day, this is a fact. You guys may have to go back and count it. You look at your phone 200 times a day.
But that's why I say artificial intelligence is already here. You're looking at it.
Exactly, 200 times a day, and that means your views are here.
Okay.
You get it? So, if I'm on YouTube doing content unregulated, you guys, what if I film a child in my video? Do we know that it's not right for you to do that? The Kenyan anthem has been copywritten. They should have protected that earlier on. I don't know whether I can go and get this footage and put it in my YouTube video afterwards. There is no structure. So it's easy for us to always go wrong. So the structured body out there says, loophole, tick, even if they go and march on the street. By law, I may actually win that case because I'll say, these are the risks that we may face. Even me as an NBS or another TV channel, I'll say, I must protect myself, so I may agree with the regulator out there.
But isn't it a human right? And I'm just going to ask this. Isn't it the human right of the person that experiences that in life? Like you said, the Ugandan Law Society. You guys made your own rules because that's your right to do so. If I have slaved away, saved, done whatever it took to get where I'm going, why then must I accept another person's laws against my life? It's the same thing he said. And most I understand where you're coming from because yes, regulation is completely required in this industry and we have no roadblocks, no qualifications. So everyone has become a content creator.
True.
And therein comes the money for UCC. Because if you can regulate, like you said, the online content, alone in the COVID
era, so many people have gone to YouTube, have started shows.
Yeah.
Instagram TV Live. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not that savvy. Can't be tackle. So, but I know that. Okay, I'll holler. Okay, I'll holler.
Danze will
You know,
help us.
Danze is here in my ear. Danze is here in my ear like digital marketing. So, no, but seriously, that revenue, you have people, Anne can see me at 1 million viewers.
Yes.
Across the world. It means people are tuning in to watch this little Muchiga girl do her antics and do crazy things globally. UCC is saying she can do whatever she wants on her YouTube channel, say whatever she wants without regulation. Again, it goes both ways. So it's really imperative that going forward, because we need a solution to this as a people and as a nation and as a generation, it's really imperative that UCC has dialogue. We're not just one, not just two, not just three. They know the content creators out there. UCC is very aware of the relevant parties that need to come to the table, the very parties that are going to pay them once the regulations are passed. You cannot tell me you invite Phillip, Luswata, Shafic, Sserwadda, me, Cleopatra, we sit around the table. We agree and everyone is streamlined on expectation and requirements. And we say this will work for us up to this point. And we will make sure that we explain the rules to the people that come after us. If there's any issue, please feel free to call upon us to sit alongside you to explain why this is important to this industry.
Yes.
And the same thing is said about film being a business. UCC almost feels like, he said, we're hustlers, right? We wake up and we go to the playground and we start playing duro. You just some people figure it out as they're shooting. Our cameramen are trained, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we ask for things, they have their paperwork, right? Okay, but what I'm saying here is that to protect them, to protect us, to protect everyone out there, so that they always get precedence because of the time they've put in, because of their experience. Same thing Louis said, as we're sitting on this panel, and I am so sorry I'm going to join you on that bandwagon. I've sat on a panel that's full of war against the creative industry. We're so divided, we cannot come together. Nobody's helping us. Instead of getting the mindset that we need to help ourselves. Like you said, it's also an economic opportunity for the government to step in and say, you can't get your stuff together, so here we are.
Yeah.
But we are going to
imposing
framework,
these laws.
yes, we will impose these things on you since you have failed. So,
But do you really think we've failed? Because we're given the opportunity.
Cleo, you've been in the industry 15 years. I have sat beside you for 15 years, and we have never sat down to say, how do we protect ourselves?
Yeah. So
I would like to put a face to this division you're talking about, and I think I've always wanted to do that.
Please do.
I was on Nana's set some time back, and I met an actor. So, fine. Then I'm on my set, and I needed a sound man very urgently. So this actor shows up with some pipes that he was,
Yes.
you know
Me too. I was like, oh,
some
are
pipes.
you?
So, and then he has this, what this
A
thing?
broom?
The boom.
The boom, but the stick boom.
Made out of metal, it's really heavy. I said, this is the actor I met on the other side. So, and when Cleo introduced me, he said he's an actor, he's a writer. She forgot to mention that I'm a director, I'm a gaffer.
You do a lot of things. We do a lot, all of us here,
So now
generally.
it is this kind of thing that has brought up that factionalism. Because I feel I am a self-contained individual.
Unit,
I'm a
production
self-contained industry. We have not specialized in anything.
Yes.
We have not specialized in anything, and without specialization, we do not view ourselves as workers. Instead, we are viewing ourselves
As companies.
I'm a company. Everyone has a company. Everyone has a project. Everyone. So this lack of specialization means that we do not know what to protect. I don't know what am I going to protect. So talking about the statutory body, it actually does exist. And I'm one of the voters in that thing. We have a union. A performing artists union. Did you know that? It's called the National Union of Creative Performing Artists and Allied Workers. Now, I learned of this.
Wait, go back. What's it called?
National Union of Performing Artists, of Creative Performing Artists and Allied Workers.
Okay, that's easy to remember.
And it is statutory.
So it's like a trade union, or?
Yes, a trade union. Okay. And I am part of that thing. I am a voter, so we do actually have a front seat in parliament because we vote in the workers' MPs. When unions meet to vote workers' MPs, we are there.
So where's the worker MP on this issue?
They have been working. That's how we came to meet the speaker.
Okay.
That's how we came to meet the speaker, and that's how the UCC, ICT came very quickly to say, now come, let's talk. And even as they're saying, come, let's talk, we are now fighting. Now the other fight in the art, factionalism again, is that there's fighting over who is it that is leading
that is going to
this
lead.
fight.
Yes.
And I was asking on the forum that I am on, I'm not going to mention the forum, you know yourselves. I was asking them, if you are chasing an antelope, and by chance it trips and falls and dies, do we reject it and start arguing over why it has died or how it has died, or do we just slaughter it and roast and eat? Because that's our goal. And right now our goal is to roast and eat this
regulations.
We need them gone. But as we are going forward, we need to lose this image of Danze. If you're a camera person, know that I need to protect the camera work. Nobody should come and make it impossible for me.
Yes.
To get employed.
Yes.
Just right there. I think Nana knows this stuff. I've been on sets where like you can't even talk to the director. Like there's that hierarchy that there's a producer, there's a director, there's a sound person.
Yep.
You do not cross and go to this place when you. Let me just give you an example. When we were shooting the French Montana music video when he was here. There was a tent where the French and the crew were seated. There was a tent for technical people. You could not cross and come this side unless you called. So that sense where like that hierarchy, where everyone knows their particular job, I think it lacks here. And those are the things that...
And it keeps the professionalism.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it hierarchy, I'd call it discipline.
Yeah,
Simply
discipline,
because when you are a producer or a director, you're dealing with a lot. And that's where discipline comes in, when people don't know what their jobs are. Again, that specialization. Like when you know that my job is to be a cameraman and you're trained, you know fully well you should not be messing with the electrical wires, you should not be crossing over to try and train the cast mid-shoot, you should not be trying to suggest wardrobe for the cute girl in the back. It's discipline and understanding roles. But also I just need to just say, Phillip, Ugandan movies, please, please guys, when you're running credits, it cannot be created by Nana Kagga, written by Nana Kagga, directed by Nana Kagga, gaffer Nana Kagga, wardrobe Nana Kagga. By the time the whole film is done, I'm a whole production unit, like you said. So why would I go try to form an alliance with the very people that feed in? Again, once we form these structures, people need to specialize. And again, we just need regulations that work for us and they work for the government.
Nana, just right there, before we wrap things up.
Why both my names?
Before
Why
you
not?
also because I didn't complete my thing.
His point.
Sorry, you go.
Could I complete it?
So we are creatives. Let's stop bringing
Let Nana finish and then...
Let me complete my
now
Because when
you're
you
bringing
talk
the
of wrapping
quotes
up,
in here.
Order,
Just let us
please.
ramble. I have Phillip,
So
you go
right
first.
now, without shame and fear, I am going to point out that there is the National Cultural Forum, which was created by the Ministry of Gender to kind of discuss the cultural policy in Uganda. And at the same time, we have the union. And right now, there's been a big fight between the National Cultural Forum and the union as to who is leading this fight. Now, I would like to talk to the National Cultural Forum, which I am a part of by virtue of being the vice chair for the union, that whether you like it or not, Louis has put it very clearly. We have a statutory body that places us as at the front line of this war, where we are actually in the chambers of parliament by virtue of the fact that we pushed workers' MPs there to talk for us. So this fight of the National Cultural Forum saying, oh, we're those who are leading, oh, we're those who are, and then going to ICT to discuss with the devil. I mean, UCC to discuss with the devil, is kind of self-defeatist. I would say we are soon coming into elections for the union, new union members. So I'm actually an outgoing executive member, and we're going to have elections soon. I call upon people, forget about your enmity, forget about who's your friend, who's not your friend, and think of being a part of the union so that you strengthen that thing and make it talk for you. That way, we are going to streamline ourselves. So we do have a statutory body, and let's not pretend and start thinking that the National Cultural Forum is that statutory body. It's not yet that.
Can you repeat the name of the union just for clarity?
Maybe
I'm serious, because for me it was a lot.
Say it again. And
yes, say it again.
It's
Because
called the National Union of Creative Performing Artists and Allied Workers. You will be surprised that some of our most active members in the union, who are now the allied workers, are pilots.
So
Pilots, they're part of
Abavugenyonyi.
Okay. It's very important to unionize.
Yes.
But now for us, we are there agonizing, stop agonizing
and unionize. Okay, so
Yes.
Shafiq, make it brief, Shafiq.
Yeah, the biggest question that I would like to pass on to each one of you, how best do you think this industry should be regulated?
unionize first. He just said it. Unionize first, then we come to the table with the things, our needs, what we'll tolerate, what we won't tolerate. Then after we unionize, we're all strengthened, we're streamlined. Then we start looking at how to literally handle this industry within our capabilities, our expectations, our boundaries. Let's train ourselves, let's unionize, let's strengthen ourselves, let's support each other. Let's literally band as one people, because once you have critical mass, nobody can stop you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask each one of you to just say a few words in brief. What would your advice be to those out there that are trying to get into the creative? And I start with Louis, who's also from the lawyer perspective, but you can also tell us as you, a person who watches us.
But I also sing in the shower, so I think. Anyway, it is sad we have very little time, but there are a couple of issues that the creators need to discuss moving forward. From self-regulation, Phillip has just told us how the biggest step they made, the powerful step, was through a union. So all this noise you guys are making and fighting and saying, I want to lead the process, is going to lead you nowhere. I want to let the creatives know that these laws are in place. They are still law. The ball of saying they've been suspended, a law is still law until it has been repealed. However, moving forward from this, all creatives, even in the digital space, I want you to consider these issues and don't mix them up. Regulation is definitely needed, from self-regulation, actualizing to what the regulation at the national level will be. Look at censorship and how it's being carried out, because the regulator or the powers that be are going to dish tools for censorship. Because the biggest problem with these laws that I don't know why we didn't discuss it, was they preempt creativity. They preempt creativity and they try to control content. And that was one of the biggest. So I don't want you guys to lose those issues. Around censorship, around self-regulation, around content creation. The self-regulation has to include bodies that are going to be rating this content for you, so that by the time the regulator comes, you've already, out there, I know we are in a moralist society, but out there, they standardize their content. There's content for kids, there's mature content, and there's space for all that content to thrive without infringing on. So I want creatives to really think about that. Then as you unionize, don't unionize out of ignorance. Make use of lawyers. I want to emphasize this. Because,
and lawyers who understand.
And especially, thank you so much. You need lawyers that understand, are experts in the entertainment field. Don't just get any other lawyer, because they are going to, and I'm not advertising here.
Yes, you are.
I'm just saying I'm the best at it, but I'm not.
He's one of the great ones.
So that you need to be guided, because once you unionize and then you're at the table out of ignorance, you've already lost. You need to know exactly what you're asking for. get people who are experienced, you guys who are experienced with how the industry works internationally. Pick out, I don't want the copy and paste, pick out what's relevant for you, all right? And moving forward, if this individualism is curtailed, and if you guys come together and one, sensitize, create standard operations and drive the standards up for the industry, get a seat at the table by any means necessary, I really do believe there is a lot of hope for the industry, because our content is barely touched and we have some of the most magnificent talent and content.
Okay, thank you, Louis Lwanga. Danze, a few words in brief.
Yeah, trust me.
Advice to the creatives.
My advice is simple. Stop creating for yourself. The most important thing you need to know is the end user is the most important person. So the regulations and whatever unionizing that we're going to do, it's not for you, it's for everyone else. Then lastly, arm yourself with knowledge about your craft and about how your craft affects other things. And also, most importantly, automation is real. You can never replace the humanity in content. That's difficult, you get it? So with that fact and that knowledge, always make sure that everything that you're doing is going to go on platforms outside TV, radio, and for digital. Facebook is going to be obsolete very soon. Anything else could come up. So plan for how that stuff evolves going forward. Yeah.
Nana?
Yes, I would say it's a very difficult thing for someone to say, what would you say to a creative out there right now? But I would say keep creating, keep dreaming, keep your voices coming. It is just really that simple. What we do is make lives that are so ordinary, extraordinary. So I don't want these regulations or the laws or policies to dim the light of a creative, to basically kill the voices that have come up to express whatever they want to express. We're living with a new generation of Ugandan youth that are so talented, they're raw. I mean, like you said, we have so much content historically, who we are as a person. The fabric of our society needs to be communicated to the world through our own voices, through our own narrative. If we don't do it, we will continue to be narrated for. I mean, Black is King is making a killing, and it's based off us, our lives. And we don't get to partake in the monetary value. What we can do is keep going, keep striving, keep dreaming, keep fighting, that nobody kills the voices that are so important to nations, to generations, to countries. Just keep working, keep dreaming, keep creating. That's it, really.
Thank you, Nana Martin Luther King. Power to the people. Okay, and Phillip, what are your last words in brief?
Well,
Your last words.
Your last words here. But yes.
Well, as an acting student, as an acting student, one of the papers I had to do was a dance paper. So the dance majors did not want to cast us in their dances, because they said, you Luswata, you're going to spoil my choreography. So we went and asked that, can we make our own group and our own choreography? So they said yes. So myself, others like Ashraf Sumogere, we went and created this Mwaga dance, and so we were in a hall. That's where we were going to perform, in Masaka. It was called People's Theatre. So what we did, we told the guys, the drummers, go inside and start drumming with all your energy. Then for us, the dancers, we wanted to create as much mayhem as possible, and we started running around the building before entering. Running around the building, shouting through the windows, going that side, hitting ourselves on the ground before entering to do the dance. So we made so much noise outside the hall. These guys, they said, these boys, when they come here, they're going to show fire. But by the time we were dancing ourselves into the room, we were tired, we had forgotten the choreography, we didn't know what was going to happen next. It was the most terrible thing, and you know, the guys
Phillip,
had the best time of
give
their
us the point of that
So now
story.
this is the point. I would like to call those guys, everyone who is fighting the union, who is fighting the individuals in the union, that please, there's no way you're going to change anything by being outside it. From my own experience, practical experience, come inside and change it, make it what you want it to be, but stop making noise outside. That is very important. We need to unionize now, and the idea is not to revise those laws, not to go and sit down and look at them, but to repeal them totally, say they need to go, and let's go back to the drawing board and do it right.
Yes. Well said, Philip. Shafiq.
So for me, I think this will go to the government. We're not here to fight you, but we're here to work with you. I would love to see a proper commission put in place where the creative industry is not in the confusion of we're in gender, we're in ICT, we're in UCC, we're in those kind of ministry. I've gotten a chance to move to different places, and how to being able to do this kind of stuff to work out is commissions. There's a Kenyan commission, there's a Tanzanian commission, there's a Nigerian commission. That when we have that in place, the commissions in place, we will be able to attract funding, we'll be able to attract other investors to come and invest in the country. Right now, you can't bring in those productions from out because they are going to be heavily taxed. So
I think the last one was The Last King of Scotland that was done here, most of it.
Yes. So most of the guys that are coming here to bring the projects are frustrated. So all I'm asking, if we are going to grow the industry before the artists organize themselves, we need a hand from the government. We need a commission that includes the talented people in it, not just getting the politicians and put them in the commission, because we speak a language that is unique. So I call upon the government that we are not here to fight you, but we are here to work with you. We need these regulations to be put in place, but please consult us, and we would like to have a commission. And for the creatives out there, as you create, as you do anything that you love, please think of making money. Because at one point, you are so talented today, you're very creative today, in the next 5 years, you may not be as creative as you are today. So as you think of creating things, think of the day when you're going to retire in your 50s and 60s. What is that thing that is going to be there to support you? Your content. A friend of mine, I'm not going to say the name, shot 600 episodes of a certain series. 40 years down the road, a TV came and picked them up after 40 years. And they say, we don't have a lot of money, but we're going to give you 1 million per episode. So 1 million times 600 episodes, that's equivalent to 600 million. The things that we're creating are going to last for generations to come. So as you create engaging, dynamic content that is going to move globally, not locally here. And that's how we're going to be able to break through. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. The viewers, I'm hoping that you've learned a few things and you've really enjoyed the topics that we've had, the topic that we've had here. And just know that you can catch up on all topics. The Film Hackers and Net Studios are doing this, almost every week. And you can watch live via YouTube that is at Net Studios, and you can watch live on Facebook at Film Hackers. And make sure you follow those platforms if you are creative so that you know what's going on. And yes, you'll get to know more about these people as well. If you're in the industry, these are my words, if you're in the industry, know other actors. It's like, I don't know how you can go into a body and you have not researched about it. Some people are in this industry and you ask them something and they have no idea. They don't even know who Phillip Luswata is. It's not that you need to know who Phillip Luswata is. It's just that there are some people that have been so influential in the industry from a long time. And they've made these changes and they've made it possible for some of us to be on this platform. So know your industry. Don't just think about yourself. Thank you so much, guys, for being on this panel. And thank you. And Danze, you're going to hook us up so that we know what to do. And my name is Cleopatra Koheirwe. I have been your host. Brian Malondo, I have done you proud, eh? Yeah, but thank you so much for watching us, and always be creative.